Hello, Ngoc.
Hi, teacher.
How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Very good. Okay, let me write the time. How's the weather? Is it very cold?
Today is sun and cloudy.
Okay, so it's not too cold today. Okay, today we've got a lot of reading to do. Okay, 1 minute, let's go. Okay, can you see the paper?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so we've got a lot of reading to do. This is a lot. I'm going to help you. You don't have to read all of it, but I want you to listen when I'm reading as well, okay? So in this passage, they talk about nutmeg. Have you finished reading this or not?
I'm not finished it before.
Okay, you're not finished. So I want to just tell you what nutmeg is. Let's just get... Sorry, my computer is a bit slow today. Okay. 1 minute. I don't know why it's so slow. Come on. Okay, I will try and explain it and we can go there after. Okay, nutmeg is a type of spice. It comes from a tree, I think. I think it tells us all about what nutmeg is. Yes, the nutmeg tree. Okay, so now we use nutmeg in our house. We add it to food to make it taste good. Okay, so it's a spice. Do you know what a spice is?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so now they're going to tell us all about how nutmeg started. So you can read the first paragraph for me, and then I will read the second paragraph.
The nutmeg tree is critical fragrance is a large evergreen tree native to Southeast Asia. During the latest 18th century, it only grew in one place in the world, a small group of islands in the Pacific part of the Moluccas or Side Islands is in northeastern Indonesia. The tree is sticky branches with dense foliage of tall, dark green over leaves and produce small yellow bells, sunflower, and bright yellow fruits. The fruit is encased in a flat-like husk. When the fruit is ripe, this husk splits into two halves along a line running the length of the fruit. Inside is a purple-brown seed. 2 to 3
Centimeters. Centimeters.
centimeters long by about 2 centimeters across, surrounded by a lacy red or crimson covering kind an area. These are the source of the two spice nutmeg and mace, the former being produced of the dried seeds and the latter from the arrow.
Yes, the arrow. Okay. Okay, so in this paragraph, they're basically telling us what it looks like, okay? And also what happened and where it grew. Okay, so then they describe the tree, what the tree looks like. They describe what the leaves look like, okay? And then the flowers. Okay, then they tell us about the fruit, okay, when it's ripe. Tell us what it looks like, how big it is. Okay, and then the name of the covering is an arrow. Okay, so these are the sources. Sources means that where it's come from. Of the two spices, nutmeg and mace. The former being produced from a dried seed and the latter from the arrow. Okay, so former is nutmeg, mace is latter. Latter is mace. Okay, teacher will read this paragraph. Nutmeg was highly prized and costly ingredient in European cuisine in the Middle Ages and was used as a flavoring, medicinal, and preservative agent. Throughout this period, the Arabs were the exclusive importers of the spice to Europe. They sold nutmeg for high prices to merchants based in Venice, but they never revealed the exact location of the source of this extremely valuable commodity. The Arab-Venetian dominance of the trade finally ended in 1512, when the Portuguese reached the Banda Islands and began exploiting its precious resources. Okay, is there anything you don't understand?
I don't understand the word commodity.
Commodity is just, okay, let me see if this is going to work now. Okay. First, I'm going to tell you what nutmeg is. Let's see. Okay, do you know that spice? Do you have it in your country?
It don't have in my country.
Oh, okay, it's not in your country. Okay. Commodity. Okay, you understand? It's where okay, valuable commodity. So in this paragraph, they talk about how nutmeg was very expensive. Okay, and it was an ingredient in the European cuisine as food in the Middle Ages. Okay, it was used for flavoring, giving food the flavor. Medicinal. Okay, so they also put it in medicine. It can make you feel better. And preservative agents. So preservative, it means it keeps the food from going off. It can last longer. You can eat it later. Okay, throughout this, Arabs were exclusive. Okay, only Arabs knew where those islands were and where the spice came from. So they made lots of money selling it because only they knew where it was. But then it ended in 1512 because the Portuguese people found the islands and they began exploiting. They began telling other people where the islands are. Okay, so that the Arabs couldn't sell so much of it anymore. Okay, are you happy? You understand?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, you can read this one, then we explain afterwards.
Away in the middle of competition from neighboring Spain, the Portuguese began subcontracting their spice distributions to Dutch traders. profits began to flow into the Netherlands, and the Dutch commercial fleet quickly grew into one of the largest in the world. That acquired gained control of most of the shipping and trading of spices in North Europe. Then in 1000,
In
uh,
1580?
then in 1580, Portugal fell under Spanish rule, and by the end of the 16th century, the Dutch found themselves locked out of the market by price for paper milk and other spice sources across Europe. They decided to fight back.
Okay, let's talk about this paragraph. So, always in danger of the competition from neighboring Spain. Okay, so now the Portuguese had found this island, so they knew where all the trees grow. But now they were always scared that Spain, the country next to them, okay, the Spain is a competition. So they always do things against each other. Who can make more money? Okay, so the Portuguese began to subcontract. That means they took from the island and they gave some to the Dutch people. Okay, the Dutch people live in Netherlands. Okay, then the Dutch people in Netherlands started to become very rich because they were selling a lot of the spices that the Portuguese gave them. Okay, the Dutch quietly gained control of most of the shipping and trading of spices in Northern Europe. The Dutch made such good business out of it, they started to slowly become bigger and bigger. Okay, but then in 1580, Portugal fell under Spanish rule. So now Portugal was part of this the same rule, like the same king as Spain. Okay, so the Spain took over Portugal. They had to all listen to the same rules. So by the end of the 16th century, the Dutch found themselves locked out of the market. So Spain said, no, you can't give any more of your spices to the Dutch people. And the Dutch people were no longer in the market after they had worked so hard and grown so big. The prices for pepper, nutmeg, and other spices soared across Europe. They decided to fight back. Okay, so the prices became much more, and they decided to fight back for it. Okay, are there any words you don't understand, or do you understand what they're saying? I know it's very difficult. That's why we're going to do it slowly.
I don't understand the word script line.
Where is it? Which can you draw for me? Oh, swiftly. Swiftly means very quickly. Okay. Very quickly. So the Dutch commercial swiftly grew into one of the largest. So it was very quick that they became so big. This is their company and their commercial company. Okay. Teacher will read next. Let me just take this away quickly. Okay. In 1602, Dutch merchants founded the VOC. a trading corporation better known as the Dutch East India Company. By 1617, the VOC was the richest commercial operation in the world. Okay, so now the Dutch people want their spices because they put in so much work. The company had 50,000 employees worldwide, with a private army of 30,000 men and a fleet of 200 ships. Okay, at the same time, thousands of people across Europe were dying of the plague, a highly contagious and deadly disease. Okay, so now the Dutch have got it back. They want their business, and they grew and grew and grew and became the richest business operation in the world. Okay, so now it's the Dutch East India Company. So this is how many people worked in the company. And then they also had an army in case people wanted to fight them. They had a fleet of 200 ships. So these ships were taking the spices all over the world. Okay. At the same time, thousands of people across Europe were dying of a plague, a highly contagious and deadly disease. Okay, doctors were desperate for a way to stop the spread of this disease, and they decided nutmeg held the cure. Okay, so doctors needed nutmeg to be able to save these people because of this disease that was being spread. Everybody wanted nutmeg, and they were willing to spare no expense to have it. They will pay a lot of money for it. Nutmeg bought for a few pennies in Indonesia could be sold for 668,000 times its original cost on the streets of London. The only problem was the short supply, and that's where the Dutch found their opportunity. Okay, so they needed this nutmegs because people were getting sick, and the nutmeg makes them feel better. Okay, they spent it was sold for a lot of money in the streets of London. But the short supply, there was not enough of it. And that's where the Dutch found their opportunity, because the Dutch have so many people that work for their company. Okay, so the Dutch made a lot of money. Okay, are you happy with that? You understand?
Yes.
Okay. Here's a long one for you. You can read up to there.
The Banda Islands were ruled by local sultan who insisted on maintaining a neutral trading policies towards foreign powers. This allowed them to avoid the presence of patrols of Spanish troops on their soils, but it also felt them and protect them other invaders. In 1621, the Dutch arrived and took over. Once
Securely.
securely in control of the Bandas, the Dutch went to work protecting their new investment. They
Concentrated.
concentrated nutmeg productions into a few easily worked areas, approaching and destroying any trees outside the plantation zones. Any one crop growing a nutmeg seeding or carrying seeds without the proper authority was severely punished. In addition, a pro nutmeg was covered with land to make sure there was no chance of future seeds which could be grown elsewhere would leave the islands. There was only the upstate to Dutch domination. One of the Banda Islands, a sliver of land can run only 3 kilometers long by less than 1 kilometer wide. was under the control of the Britain. After decades of fighting for control of these tiny islands, the Dutch of Britain arrived at a compromise
settlement.
compromise settlement. The the Treaty of Breda in 1667 intent of securing their whole over every nutmeg producing islands. The Dutch always agreed if the Britons would give them the islands of Run, they would in turn give Britain a distant and not less valuable islands in North America. The Britons agreed that other islands were
Manhattan,
which is how New Amsterdam becomes New York. The Dutch now has a monopoly over the Muslim trade, which would last for another century.
Okay, let's go have a look. Let's see that we can understand. Okay. The Banda Islands were ruled by local sultans. So people that lived on the Banda Islands, that's who was in charge of them. Okay, they insisted on maintaining a neutral trading policy towards foreigners. They did not want the Portuguese people or the Spanish people on their island. Okay, but the problem was that it left them unprotected from other people. Okay, now because everybody knows where the nutmeg trees are. So because other people could come, in 1621, the Dutch people arrived and they took over the whole island. Okay, once securely in control of the island, the Dutch went to work protecting their new investment. So now the Dutch people know where the island is and they took over, and this is going to make them a lot of money. They concentrated all nutmeg production into a few easily guarded areas. So they only put it into some places so that no people could steal their trees or their plants. Okay, uprooting and destroying any trees outside the plantation zone. So only in those places where the people could protect them were the trees. There was no other trees. Otherwise, people would grow it, and then the Dutch people would have no money. Anyone caught growing nutmeg, sealing, or carrying without a proper authority was severely punished. Okay, maybe they go to jail or something like that. In addition, all exported nutmeg was covered with lime. Okay, so it was covered with lime so that there's no chance that they could grow any more of it. If you cover it with lime, it makes it so it doesn't grow. Okay, there was only one obstacle to Dutch domination, one of the Banda Islands. Okay, a sliver of land called Run. This island is called Run. It was under the control of the British. Okay, not the Dutch, the British. They owned a part of this one of these islands. So after decades of fighting for control of this tiny island, Dutch and the British arrived at a compromise settlement. Okay, so now they made an agreement in 1667. Intent on securing their hold for nutmeg production, the Dutch offered a trade. Okay, so now the Dutch want to swap. If the British would give them the island of Run, they would in turn give Britain a distant and much less valuable island in North America. Okay, so the Dutch want control of all of those Banda Islands. Okay, so now they've swapped. That island was Manhattan. Okay, so Manhattan is the less valuable island in North America, which is how New Amsterdam became New York. The Dutch now had a monopoly over the nutmeg trade, which would last for another century. So everywhere where there was nutmeg, the Dutch people were in charge of it. They were very clever. Okay. Are you happy with that? Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, last bit I will read for you. Then in 1770, a Frenchman named Pierre Pierre successfully smuggled nutmeg plants to safety in Mauritius, an island off the coast of Africa. Some of these were later exported to the Caribbean, where they thrived, especially on the island of Grenada. Next, in 1778, a volcanic eruption in the Banda region caused a tsunami that wiped out half the nutmeg groves. Finally, in 1809, the British returned to Indonesia and seized the Banda Islands by force. They returned the islands to the Dutch in 1870, but not before transplanting hundreds of nutmeg seedlings to plantations in several locations across southern Asia. The Dutch nutmeg monopoly was over. Okay, so that's what happened now. This man managed, okay, he was naughty. He got some seeds from the nutmeg plant and he planted some in Mauritius. So Mauritius started to develop nutmeg. Later, they went to Caribbean islands where it thrived. It did so well. The nutmeg trees grew so well, especially on the island of Grenada. Okay, so now the nutmeg is going everywhere and the Dutch people don't have control anymore. Okay, the British returned, and then there was a big tsunami that took out the Banana Islands. Okay, so there was not many trees left from a volcano. They returned the islands to the Dutch. They gave the island back to the Dutch people, but they had taken thousands of their nutmeg trees and put them all over southern Asia. Okay, so the Dutch were not the only people anymore to own nutmeg trees. They were all over the world. It's like today, nutmeg is grown in Indonesia, the Caribbean, India, Malaysia, Papua New Guinea, and Sri Lanka. And world nutmeg production is estimated to average between 10,000 and 12,000 tons per year. There is a lot of nutmeg. Okay, are you happy with that? You understand? Now we're finished. Okay, so the whole story is about nutmeg and how it started and how people fought over it, what it was used for, what it looks like. Okay, so they told us all this information about nutmeg. So let's have a look over here. Choose one word from the passage for each answer. Write your answers in boxes 1 to 4. Okay, so let's read it and we can go back if you want to.
The leaves of the tree are
In shape.
shape.
Okay,
It shows the fruits and breaks open when
okay, let's do one at a time. We do number 1. I think it tells you here. Okay. It tells you what the tree looks like in the first paragraph. Okay, look, I can help you. The tree is thickly branched with dense foliage of tough, dark green, oval leaves. Okay, oval is a shape. They want to know the leaves. Okay, let's go down. So, number 1, the leaves of the tree are?
oval shape.
Oval, okay. I'm going to write it here so we can still see. Oval. Okay. Number 2. Can read it.
The sauce, the fruit and breaks open when the fruit is ripe.
Okay, so the surrounds the fruit and breaks open when the fruit is ripe. What is it that surrounds the fruit? Surround or encased? The fruit is encased in a here. The fruit is encased in a fleshy husk.
Fleshy
Husk. Okay. So encased is surrounded. The
uh, the husks surround the fruit and breaks open when the fruit is ripe.
okay. Number 3.
This is used to produce the price nut milk.
Okay. So what is used to produce the spice nutmeg? Okay.
From the rice dish,
Okay, so the dried seed. And okay, the dried seed. I'm just going. Okay, it says you only need one word, so we just write seed. Okay, number 4.
the covering known as the area is used to produce. The tree has yellow flower and fruit.
Okay, so what is that covering known as aerial is used to produce? Over here. Nutmeg and? Former means before. Latter means after. Mace. Okay. Letter from the aerial is mace. Okay. That's the end of that one. Okay. Questions 5 to 7. Are they true or false? Okay, number 5 or not given.
In the Middle East, Most Europeans knew when milk was raw.
In the Middle Ages,
I think is true.
most, okay, it was highly prized, okay, in the European cuisine, but they did not know where it was grown. Only the Arabs. The Arabs were exclusive to importers of the spice to Europe. So is it true or false?
It is true.
Okay. Number 6.
The VLC was the world's first major trading company.
Okay, the VOC was the world's first major. Do they say that? Not first. The richest. Okay, but we also don't know. Maybe it was the first. They just don't say it here. So what do you think? Not given. Okay, it says they are the richest, but doesn't say anything about being the first. But maybe it was the first. Okay, number 7.
During the 20th of Britain, the Dutch had control of the island's great nutmeg grew.
Okay, remember the Dutch people? Oh. The English tried to take over. Where is it? Here, the Treaty of Breda. The Dutch took over control of everything.
I think it's true.
Yes, it is true. Okay, good. Let me write it there. Okay, good job. Let's come back and then we can finish some more.